Does it ever make you wonder what's on my mind? I don't know, it just came in my head when I said, hey. Yeah, that's a really old song. So I was going to do a video on digital ID and I wanted to do more and more research into it. But the fact of the matter is, you guys already know it's coming. It's here for us in Australia. So the Albanese government, our current government, which is Labor, which is for you guys the sort of left-leaning party, whereas our Liberal Party are the authoritative right-wing kind of conservative, I guess. So this is the party that is going to be responsible for starting this implementation of digital ID. It is a bipartisan effort though, as they brag through the media and through articles, and I can tell you, working for certain places, that they have had this idea for a long time. Me, as a previous employee of certain places, have seen the framework and the internal documents. This was always a thing. The final goal is to have a dossier on everybody that links all their government services and assets into one place. So when you call up, eventually, this is down the track, this is the plan. I don't know when. I mean, it's gradually happening, but I can tell you I've seen it. Please don't yeet me, our equivalent of Killary. But that's the final goal, is to have a thing where you can just go in somewhere or speak to somebody, a representative of the government of the day, and then have all your services and assets there on the screen. They just sort of pick the tabs to coincide with what you're talking about or what you need. In the future, they would like, the goal is to have a picture, a biometric digital picture of you that accompanies this file. Kind of like, I guess, when you look at those films that are about like secret CIA stuff, and they always have a picture of the person, this is our target, and all the information down the side. That's what they want for the everyday citizen. And if you're someone that doesn't really understand this or hasn't really looked into it, you don't want to take people's word for it, but I'm seeing it unfold before my eyes. This used to be something that we'd study, years ago and think, oh, this kind of looks, the writing's on the wall for us, but we knew how to read that writing. We knew that language. When they say something, we know how to read between the lines. And we know that then when they say, you know what, we're never going to do this, they're going to do that thing. They're just trying to frame it in a way that's more palatable to those that weren't expecting it. And digressing just slightly, I'm of the mind that it's esoteric, kind of, it's putting the suggestion there so it's like predictive programming so that you will accept that in the future, but that's besides the point of what I'm getting at here. I am trying to tell you, if you don't already know, they want to combine all the aspects of your life that make it livable into one access point so that they can go and turn everything off at the drop of a hat as soon as they decide, or as soon as you put a foot wrong. And if you think that's a conspiracy theory, you just need to read the multitude of articles. And a lot of times people don't have the time to do that, or the want to do that, or feel they have the need to do that. So when people want to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, or you're a conspiracy theorist, you're still using that tired old term. To me, that just means that's somebody that's going to be proven right in a few years. But sometimes as it gets later in the day here, I'm thinking it's no point trying to convince the normies. They need to see it. They're so dumb, some of them, that they need to see it. And even then, it takes them 2 years to go on a march against the corona vaccine being mandatory, So in our country, we have this idea that everything's going to be digital, because one of the beautiful things about Australia is it's away from the wars and the turmoil of some of the world in the Northern Hemisphere that they're experiencing. The thing that bothers me about this country, and it's coming into play here and people are beginning to notice, is because we have 26 million people in the entire country, we're very easily goaded into a way of life or a law or a style that they want us to be living. And that is why they've implemented it here already this hard, because guess what, as these articles are telling us, as the news reports are telling us, this is going to start in June, middle of the year. The framework is already there, the legislation is already there, it begins now. Now they're saying to you at this point that it's opt-in, and we all know what happens when they say that. I've got a story, kiddies, because remember, I'm old as story time! Some years back, the government floated this idea of something called a My Health record. When it first came to the public's attention, I believe it was called something else, possibly My Digital Health, or something that lacked the pizzazz. They floated it as the idea and they said, hey, you guys should opt into this. It's pretty good. It's going to help you in the future. It's going to be very convenient. And because it was opt-in, guess how many people opted in? Fuck all! So they waited a few years, they dressed it up again, and then they put it through and said, actually this time, it's going to be opt-out. And so that involved people ringing a certain number, quoting their Medicare number or their driver's license in order to opt out of this massive dragnet of all their private medical data. And I know this down to the very fine details, which I won't get into because if you're not Australian, it doesn't really affect you. And now that you've made the decision already, you're not out. But yours truly helped run campaigns in order to inform people of what this meant for them and to find them alternative ways and the numbers and stuff to opt out. I did not like that we weren't told that it was partially so the Immunisation Register of Australia could see your vaccination history at any given time. For example, if you were given medication or a quote-unquote vaccination before it was custom for the doctor to pass that on to the immunisation register, allegedly moving forward. For some people, they thought that the risk versus the gain was better for them. So if they had, say, a family member that was, say, incarcerated, or if they had someone in the Navy or the Army here, they get their healthcare taken care of a different way. But it was the same sort of thing. So it was like if something happens or that person is moved to a different station within the country, they want them to be able to be caught up really quickly if they need some sort of medical. But they didn't want you to think about that data perhaps being stolen or used for nefarious purposes, or maybe they want to withhold something in the future, or like we found out with the coronavirus, they could look you up on their system and deny you entry to places because they knew the status of your vaccination. Point is, as with anything where there is risk, there must be consent. And I just don't feel that our government did that. And I feel that this that they're doing now is pretty similar. You need to present all the information available so someone can make an informed decision. So that goes for the good side, the convenience and everything, and also the bad side where maybe people that you have never heard of, that you don't want to look at your medical records, can indeed do that. And there's not really much to Australia on the global stage, so these people like to sell us out and down the river for any agenda that the elites want. And what they're doing, like all things like this, is they're relying on the uninformed and the lazy or the too busy or the not intelligent enough. Just put it through and let them go tick, 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 yep, you just give me my benefits, tick, 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 yep, just whatever, I just want this done so I can move on with my life. This time, however, when it swings back around after some sort of backlash, they're going to just override everything and they're going to bulldoze us into it. There won't be an opt-out and an opt-in and all this stuff. It will be the way stuff is because, as they say, it's a bipartisan effort and it's just too good for them. It just helps them too much not to do it. So you've got idiots like this guy. Why do they always look like this? From what I remember and what I see in articles dated in 2015, this man actually did balance both sides. He was actually advocating Snowden when he came out with a bunch of information that was getting him into trouble but was fitting for the general public to know about. And then you fast forward to this year and he's out here saying all sorts of things like you shouldn't believe conspiracy theories. It'll make it so much easier. All your banking, all your health records, all your welfare things, all your bills and everything will be in one place. It'll be so much better. And here's the thing. He was a privacy commissioner. And he's saying it's really great and easy because you'll have one password for everything. I'd like to refer to myself as an OG up in this bitch, but isn't the number one golden rule that you never have the same password for everything? And here you have this idiot telling you not only to have your password somewhere, but having biometric data plus your financial data plus your business online in one account that can be accessed. Imagine if that got hacked. These people can't keep safe banks. They can't keep safe telecommunication companies. They can't keep safe MyGov as it is, which is already a hub where you have all your government services in the same spot. You can't even do that. And they will stand up there and shamelessly spout all this bullshit wearing massive glasses to try and make themselves look smarter and expect you to just take it and not have any questions. Apparently the Home Affairs and Cybersecurity Minister Claire O'Neill is part of the team proposing the digital ID. Now what she brings is the vaginal component of this. So you've always got to have one of those these days. You've got to have the appeals to emotion side of the argument because fuck logic, right? So she comes in and pow! She goes straight for the what about women escaping domestic violence situations? They barely have access to their phone. They're lucky enough to get out with that, let alone access to their bank, let alone access to their personal stuff. Yeah, look, I'd love to play a game of statistics, percentages versus general population and the reality that we're living in. And I have been in similar situations to those that you are mentioning, and you couldn't convince me, dear. I don't care what title they gave you at the office to meet their diversity quota. Now that we've come this far, I just want to say, if you want to go back or you haven't already, pause and read the legislation that's being put through. Read them openly saying that you will need this in future to get into society, to have the services that everybody else has. Otherwise, you're going to be in a world of hurts. I also want to tell you that if you haven't, go back and have a look at the video I did on Bank West, because it is Australia's longest running bank at 120 years old, I think. And they recently came out and said they're going to make themselves a digital bank, which means a lot of ATMs are shutting down. They already did that when Corona happened. They're also going to make it so the branches have shut down. They are going to be digital and online only. And in that same vein, around Australia, if other banks are doing the same, yes, they all shut down the ATMs and started pulling branches away from places because of COVID and everything. We all know under that guise, they did a lot of that stuff to push the agenda that is global. And now they're going pretty hardcore, and a lot of banks are tending to go down the same route. So at a certain stage, we're all going to be doing our lives digitally. It's coming at the same time as putting all our ID online. It's almost like they're combining everything. Almost like they're getting ready for that central access point that I was mentioning before. You know, that conspiracy. Hey normies, check out my magic. So, in the future, when there is a hack that's either orchestrated or allowed to happen, eventually the only option is going to be to have the ID, chip, tag, token in your body. Sleep well. If you appreciated the video, like and consider subscribing for more.